Whether you're a true whiskey fan or looking for a gift for the whiskey drinker in your life, Flaviar is your exclusive backstage pass. Flaviar offers a monthly subscription that delivers a carefully chosen whiskey right to your doorstep.
In addition, their tasting boxes give you a broad array of samples hand-picked by the experts themselves.
This holiday season, check out Flaviar's Advent Calendar. Every day in December, you can open a different door to a delicious new whiskey.
Go to flaviar.com/Cinemavino to start your adventure in the world of whiskey. Use promo code Cinemavino10 to save $10 on any purchase of $100 or more. That's flaviar.com/Cinemavino, promo code Cinemavino10. And welcome back to Cinemavino. This is a special extra episode, a double feature for our Halloween series.
Science fiction. Read all about it.
It's a
double feature.
It's a nice epilogue to our Halloween series that you guys can enjoy. And we're actually looking at a double feature of movies that came out in 2007 from two very famous indie directors, Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. Got Death Proof and Planet Terror. And I don't know about you guys, I definitely saw these in the theater as a package deal.
I did not. I didn't see it in theater.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not necessarily a huge Robert Rodriguez fan, but I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
Because of Spy Kids?
Exactly. I mean, I've grown to love the Spy Kids after the fact.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Steve Buscemi's in it.
Yeah. He's good people. So we are drinking Iruai. This is an Oregon Syrah. Very rich, fruit forward 2022 Oregon Syrah.
Very fruit forward.
Obviously,
Cool label.
Yeah.
I like the label.
It has a very blood-centric label, which seemed appropriate for this combination of movies. This is a very gory, bloody combination of movies, so kind of fit the content.
13%.
Yes.
Contains sulfites.
Very, very jammy, very fruit-forward.
Very government warning.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a nice little Oregon red. I'd recommend it.
What are the typical Oregon varietals?
You don't see a lot of Syrahs. Pinot Noir and Pinot Gris are your big two.
I was going to say, what's the deal with Syrah?
Tastes very effervescent.
Yeah, that's that. You'll see that mainly in the California wine. You know, where it's a little bit different climate, and you'll see a lot of those in France in the form. I mean, they call it Shiraz, but like Côte de Rhône wines. Oregon, I think, is branching out into stuff like Shiraz. Kind of.
I thought Shiraz was more of like a New Zealand or Australian situation.
Different word for the same thing.
Okay.
Shiraz are the same thing, and so it just kind of depends on where you are in the world.
Is that a common Australian varietal?
Shiraz, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely fits. It fits what they were going for a long time in that market of like big, bold, fruit-forward wines. I mean, big, burly.
It's definitely big and fruit-forward.
And it has an Australian kick to it.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because most Oregon wines are known for being very kind of mild-mannered and well-rounded. So this has that big, burly Australian feel to it. So I was surprised when we took a drink of it. It was very fruit-forward. So if you guys are looking for kind of a blackberry, Smucker's flavored wine, this is what you got.
What would you pair this with?
Ritz cracker and a peanut butter.
Honestly, make yourself like a little
peanut butter jelly sandwich.
PJ, a little Uncrustable.
Yeah. I would honestly, I think you could do this with a steak. I really do. But I think you could also do it with pizza.
I would do this with like a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
It would do great.
Do it with like a little cured meat, little cheese,
I was thinking pizza or charcuterie, like whichever needs to have pepperoni on it.
Where you got some jelly on the board.
Yeah. If you're serving like a charcuterie and you want like a wine to pair with it, like a nice,
this would be a great choice.
Bold, juicy.
Slap a little Havarti up in that bitch.
You like a Havarti on a cheese board? Okay, I like a little blue cheese.
I'll take that
get a little
too.
Funk in there.
Yeah.
Get a little funk.
Rub some stank on it.
That carried real nice in the microphone.
Stank.
That's nice. But yeah, this is, less than $20 for this. So keep an eye out for Iruai.
It's like 21.
Exactly. So we're going to look at Death Proof first real quick here. This is 2007. This is the Tarantino half of the double feature. It was written, directed, and photographed. Both films were written, directed, and photographed by the director.
Quentin Tarantino.
Exactly. So this is a tribute to the cheap exploitation films of the 70s, the Grindhouse double features. So Tarantino deliberately damages the film stock, degrades it, makes it scratchy. He adds jump cuts. He subtracts a reel of footage from it, so it looks like a disheveled film you might look at a cheap theater in the 70s. This was released April 6, 2007, not released during Halloween, which is a curious decision to not release a double feature horror film during Halloween and release it in April. That's a strange decision to me. But
he was going for those summer blockbusters. You know?
Maybe, I don't know. I just can't. I mean, I saw this, but it's like this was not a movie I would naturally be in the mood for in April. So maybe that's just me. This was a box office disappointment. It grossed $31 million against a $30 million budget. Tarantino has since spoken of his own disappointment with the movie, saying it didn't work out the way that he wanted it to. He has said that this is his weakest film. So there's that. Story set in Austin, Texas. The through line of the film is the character Stuntman Mike, played by Kurt Russell. He is from the periphery of 70s and 80s Hollywood TV and movies, often serving as a stunt double for B and C-list actors. By the events of this film, Mike has a big secret. He's also a serial killer. He encounters two sets of young women, all of whom will become his targets. The first group is a hard-partying group who fall into his orbit at an Austin dive bar. The second group is part of a local Tennessee film crew who have the stunt skills and car knowledge to tangle with Mike. They actually have the knowledge and wherewithal to fight back.
Contend.
Yes.
Is this after Kill Bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
This is his next feature after Kill Bill. So that sets up the ultimate battle in which these ladies will come back at Mike and try to get their revenge. So that's what I've got for notes. You guys obviously you've seen this before. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, Sean, to hear your opinion first.
I mean, I honestly, I like this iteration of the Grindhouse movie. I like the Tarantino aspects of it. You get a lot of homages to that era of film. Kind of, we've talked about it with previous ones we've done of Tarantino. He's such a film buff that he does a really good job of nodding to a lot of like the classics. He does a lot of... He has a catalog of movies just in his head that he's going to make homages to and kind of reference back. And I think it's really interesting to kind of see his take on it and see like what he pulls away from it. It's not a horror movie in the sense it is an exploitation film, right? It's that like, or that era of film is just very much like just grainy, cheap, put together really slowly, cheesy lines, cheesy performances.
That's what they call that.
Yeah, and I think he does a good job of recreating that. And I think by that very nature, it's not going to be a good movie. Like in the sense of like, it's not Pulp Fiction, it's not Kill Bill, but you get a lot of the elements of like those movies kind of like intertwined, and you see there's a lot of feet. There's a lot of feet in this movie.
Yeah.
God, he loves feet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come through any more than this movie.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think he's having fun. He's living his best life. He's filming feet all day. It definitely seems like this movie is one where he and his buddy Robert Rodriguez are just kind of having fun, filming stuff, goofing off,
riffing,
and it's a low budget. Honestly, $30 million for both.
That was
just
for
this one.
This one.
Okay, still that's a low budget for what he's been working with from the Weinsteins. Like he was untouchable at this time, and he just decided to slap together just like I want to have fun with my friend's movie, and I think that's exactly what you got. Like, it's fun. There's good action. A lot of like self-referential stuff. He references a lot of his own movies in this. He kind of points backwards and points forward to a lot of his stuff.
A rare fourth wall break in this movie.
Yeah.
With Kurt Russell. It's a great moment where it's like, the girls are like laughing and driving off the distance. He looks right at the camera and kind of like
winks.
Yeah. It's a great moment. Kurt Russell plays it perfectly.
Yeah, he does. And I love Kurt Russell. I've gone on record on this podcast how much I love Kurt Russell, and he brings him back in Hateful Eight, which I think is his next movie after this.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he shows up there.
Yeah, and again, Stuntman Mike being an homage to like 70s and 80s stunt people. that's kind of where he goes with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So you kind of see again his reference back to his love of movies.
And he cast 2 stunt women in this movie as actresses. So Zoe Bell was Uma Thurman's stunt double in Kill Bill. And then...
And she's the New Zealander?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
She's a Kiwi. And then the driver of the vehicle in the big accident, I forget what her character's name is.
Was that Tracy Toms in the second half?
In the first half.
Oh, in the first half.
The blonde actress who's driving the car.
Oh, she's playing Lana Frank. She's Monica Staggs.
She is Daryl Hannah's stunt double.
Oh, and they're talking about, yes. All right.
So, yeah.
Banging Daryl Hannah's stand-in.
So, literally, he cast Uma Thurman's stunt double from Kill Bill and then Daryl Hannah's stunt double from Kill Bill. So,
yeah, and it probably came out of conversations on Kill Bill's set where he's like, I would love to do a movie with you guys actually acting as stunt women doing this movie. And I love that organic nature of it. I think it's fun. I think this is a movie that you shouldn't take seriously as you shouldn't look at it through the same lens you look at like Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for that reason, you can kind of enjoy it more. I would probably give this like a 7.5, bordering on an 8.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's goofy. It's intentionally made kind of shitty. It's a little tongue in cheek. And I think if you just kind of aren't expecting a lot, it's enjoyable.
And so I'm there with you. A lot of that. And I said my initial review of it back in the day would have been about that. Watching it now, I would say it's almost it almost kills the movie.
Too much feet.
Well, that too.
Oh.
But what almost kills the movie for me, and I would give this a 6 out of 10. And it has a lot of good stuff going for it. I love the actresses. I love overall Tarantino. I love a good writer and listening to a good writer unfold his dialogue and story on screen. Pulp Fiction to me is like just listening to music, his dialogue. But the biggest thing here is he can't help himself and be indulgent. There are stretches of dialogue that go on for so fucking long that they bring the movie to a stop. There's one sequence, and I timed it, with the 4 actresses in the second half of the film where they're sitting around doing the Reservoir Dogs thing, talking around the table. It goes on for 8 minutes of nothing.
And the camera just keeps panning. And it's trying to show that there's like stuntman Mike in the background, like listening.
It's an uninterrupted take that pans
but it just
around.
pans and just goes.
And most of that conversation is either expository and like there's not trying to establish like, this character has a gun that she's going to have later, or it's nothing and it's Seinfeld like nothing dialogue.
Yep.
Well, it also shows that Zoe is always like the cat.
She lands on her feet. There's a lot of expository stuff and then there's a lot of nothing stuff in there.
Boom, 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 boom.
And it goes on and on and on. It's like, oh my God. I mean, it's like, I have in my notes, like this makes like Seinfeld look like a Jane Austen novel in terms of substance. It's like, wrap this up, man. Like, there's two stretches of dialogue like that where it just goes on. There's a sequence in the first half of the film where it's like, just wrap this up, man. It's almost a fatal flaw in the film that's like, it's Tarantino can't help himself. He has to have like, in that situation, like if you think about it in a script, a minute is a page of dialogue. That means in that sequence, there's 8 pages of continuous dialogue that he's wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote.
And from a writing perspective, I think he had to cross that line to kind of know where the line was to then kind of dial it back on his next movies.
Yeah. And to me, it's like he's riffing on himself. He's riffing on Reservoir Dogs.
Sure.
The sequence we were talking about, like tipping and Steve Buscemi and all that stuff at the beginning of the movie. But it's like that's also like that was your one trick pony for that. That's how you announce that you're a writer director. You're an auteur. You're a big time filmmaker. Now going back to it later, it feels very redundant and it feels very long. And I mean, it was blathering. The dialogue was blathering at that point, and it kills the momentum of the movie. That was my one beef with it. I enjoyed this movie a lot. And I enjoyed the chase at the end of it. I like seeing Kurt Russell like kind of go between being a badass serial killer and then being a wimping. Like,
once he gets shot, he just turns into a beast.
Yeah. It's fun to watch that transition. There's a lot of good things about this movie, but it's like that's the one thing that killed it for me was Tarantino is too much Tarantino.
Yeah.
He goes full fifth gear.
Yeah.
So, and that was my one beef with it was like, God dang, it's like. your editor should have had the balls to stand up to you and say, nope, we're going to cut this down.
But that's the problem is when you're the writer and the director, you just let it go.
Yeah.
You just go for too long and there's no one to tell you no. If a director is, doing someone else's writing, or a writer is doing someone else's, directing, you have like that dynamic of like, okay, no, this needs to be cut to here, or no, you should be doing this differently.
And
if you're both, you don't really have that check and balance.
And to me, there's a key difference between these two movies. Tarantino definitely forgets that he is writing schlock, and he tries to write art house dialogue, and he tries to elevate the movie. Rodriguez plays down to the material. He goes downward with his dialogue and his characters. He goes hokey, cornball, cheesy B-movie dialogue. Tarantino tries to play up.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Tarantino movie that just has a filter over it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And that's a key mistake to me. It's like he either forgets or tries to play over the fact that this is supposed to be a low-grade B-movie, cheapo experience. He's trying to like put like the Pulp Fiction vibes to it of like clever dialogue, ironic, art house type cinema. And it's like that's a key difference. That's why to me Planet Terror is superior to two movies. We'll get to that in a minute. But this
hot take.
Yeah. Hot take. It is. And that's a rewatching. Beforehand, like a long time ago, I would have said that this is the superior of the two movies. I have now flipped my opinions. So this is 6 out of 10 for me. So Trav, what are your thoughts?
I really enjoyed Death Proof. I like the first half of Death Proof, the first set
you like the Austin
of
piece,
gals,
not the Tennessee piece,
right? So I really like the way they introduce all the characters and then have them come together just hanging out in a car, and then they go to the bar, and then again, I mentioned this in our Exorcist podcast. I really like the geography of they just stayed in the bar. They walked through the bar. They walked out this door. They walked out the other door. They showed it was raining. They had like another, a little shot where Quentin Tarantino's character said, hey, there's a light off in the parking lot.
She's smoking on the porch. Flip that light.
Yeah. And they flip it on and then boom, there's the car.
That's a great scene.
I could have sworn, though, that the scene was dark and they showed her and then the light came on. I remembered it differently, but they just flipped to her and then the light is already on the car. But I guess I remembered it in shadow and then it popped on, whatever. But I like that group of friends in that. I love a Quentin Tarantino soundtrack.
Yes,
all
his
of the music
is tremendous.
Yes,
is excellent, and they use the jukebox. The jukebox is a fucking character in the first half,
and that's his actual jukebox in this.
Oh,
movie.
is it? Mm-hmm. Nice.
That's his piece from home.
Yep, he brought it for the
some things that take away is Quentin Tarantino needing to be in his own film and needing to like do some of the callbacks, like who is this? That's Stuntman Mike. We're like, well, who is he? He's a stuntman. Like, just some of that dialogue, like, it's very Quentin Tarantino-esque, but he wants himself to be the cool guy when he shows up in a film.
Is that your billboard by the Big Kahuna Burger?
Yeah. So when he's there, he's the cool guy. But he also has a bit of a weird. He does need an editor because he has a repetition problem. Like, they're talking about, hold on, here's Butterfly. Well, here, I'm going to come up and pretend I'm a guy coming up to give Butterfly the whole schlock and spiel. And it just takes too long. And they're like, what about me saying a guy that is pretty good but not too good looking but who you could fuck? Did you not understand? Like, they do that whole thing at least 3 if not 4 times.
Feels like they repeat it like
so many times, and you just need a red line through 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah,
you can say it maybe 3 times, but you can't like robotically say that same line. It just gets a little too weird. Like, oh, I'm sorry, who's in so much of a hurry now? Now you want to do it? Now you want to fuck around with lines? But the music is so great. And I guess this is Sidney Poitier's daughter, whose name is Sidney Poitier.
That's Sidney Poitier's daughter?
Jungle Julia.
Damn.
I love the scene, and it's one of the ones where I remember the most, is when she's texting the guy, whatever, Christian Samuels. She's right next to the super loud jukebox, and she's like, hold on, it's too loud, and she's on the phone, and she walks away, and it, fades out, and then she goes in the other room, finishes her call, and then is sitting there like texting the guy that she likes, and the music totally changes, and it's this like slow piano deal, and she's like in her own world. She's like pushed out everything else, and she's having her own like XO, oh cute texts back and forth, which that's great too, that her phone dates
the film so perfect. There was such a narrow window.
You think it's like in the 70s, and then it's like, okay, well, people have cell phones.
It struck me as so odd how precise of a window this movie was placed in based on the texting, because we had maybe a 2 to 3 year stretch where we were doing T9 texting.
Yes.
And then we got full keyboards, and then we got full on digital keyboard. Like, it was very fast.
So
any movie in that stretch is immediately dated.
It nailed it right in the middle. You're right. It gave you the like 3 year window of when this film could have taken place. You're like, but it looks so much older. It's weird and anachronistic, but like, whatever, it still works. That whole scene where it's like super quiet, and then she sends the texts, and she's like, it has a little crescendo, and then she's walking in, and then the jukebox starts pumping back in. Like, I love that whole little scene there. And then Stuntman Mike there just been what did he say to Rose McGowan? He was like, no, I wasn't stalking you, but I didn't say I wasn't a wolf.
Couldn't help it over here.
Yeah. He's been stalking and predatory the whole time, but he's just been sitting and listening and being a weird little fucking hunter there at the bar. So this is, to me, is almost like two separate movies. The first 45 minutes is you've got the build up, and it's such a great and slow build up that once it switches, and then he's giving Rose McGowan a ride home. He's like, oh man, you could have said you were going right, but you said you're going left, which means you got to start getting scared right now.
Yeah.
And then it's just Quentin Tarantino. This was a drunken, like, backyard, like, conversation between Tarantino and Rodriguez, and they're like,
what if we
should do this fucking movie?
Yeah.
We're like, you know what I miss is fucking car movies. I love all these car movies. I want to talk about these car movies. I want to show these car stunts and get people that know what they're doing to do shit. I want a killer that has an interesting weapon. This is my idea. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And they just did. It's a whole rush job from Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, but they were like, "Fuck it, let's do it. We're never going to do it again. Why not?"
I remember reading an interview one time. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, keep.
Was that Fiona Apple was dating Paul Thomas Anderson? Have you seen this?
Doing too much cocaine?
Yeah, and they were going into hyperdrive talking about movies. She had to get up and leave because she couldn't stand to be around them.
Just PTA or Quentin Tarantino?
They're both of them. They were just like, it was Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino, like, doing blow and just blathering about movies in fifth gear.
I saw a clip of that, of Fiona Apple, like, listening to Quentin Tarantino talk about doing his World War II movie.
Yeah.
And about how Francis Ford Coppola's wife told him that, like, he just needs to climb that Mount Everest. And she was giving him the most weird, incredulous look. And she's like, oh, is the story over? And she was like, haha. Wow. And it was like, I don't know how long this guy has been talking, but I don't know.
Well, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Just From Dusk Till Dawn, when did that come out? What was that?
That was
95. 96.
So there was
96.
like a solid like 10 years between that, which that was also a joint venture between Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, which was just like one did the first half, one did the second half. I love
Rodriguez did both, but I think Tarantino wrote
the script.
Yeah.
Was that it? I thought Quentin Tarantino kind of like directed the first half.
He didn't. I don't think he directed the first half.
Okay, so it was just script and then directing.
Yeah.
It's still interesting to compare and contrast the two and just kind of see like how those two movies are, joint venture between these two, and then these two doing like a interplaying like one movie, two movie.
So Trav, what would you give it?
Oh, sorry. The second half of Death Proof, I enjoyed, but it just is not as good as the first half. The setup, Zoe Bell is not as great of an actress as the rest, and the whole round table discussion that you guys were mentioning, I actually like that. Like, I love Quentin's camera movements, and I love it when the characters sit around and talk about just shit, just drivel.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith does it very well. Quentin Tarantino does it very well. Like, I will watch just heads in a room talking if they're writing it. Brian Michael Bendis
Describing podcasts.
Amen.
Brian Michael Bendis as a comic book writer would do it. Like, people are like, we need action, and I'm like, no, I really like to see Spider-Man and Wolverine in a room just talking about like how their powers work. I'm like, oh, it's exactly like Spider-Man No Way Home, where they're asking Tobey Maguire, they're like, wait, so your web shooters just come out of your hand? Like,
are you in a band?
yeah, like what the fuck is happening? I love all those little moments that make it feel like, all right, we're sitting here waiting around. But the Death Proof doesn't really end. I mean, they get the guy.
They just stomp him. And
They stomp him.
Credits.
They leave Elizabeth Winstead with the creepy guy that's Adam Sandler's
Which
friend.
that would be like a friendship ender in real life of like leaving with like with a guy from Deliverance. Yeah, that would be.
Rosario Dawson was great in this, but like everybody they have weird lines where it's like, this doesn't feel real. This feels weird and disjointed.
And written.
But the first half of Death Proof, for me, is much stronger than the second.
Yeah.
This film, I would give it like a 7.5.
Fair.
So we're pretty close.
Yeah, we're all kind of in the same area, same ballpark.
Okay. Planet Terror, the other half of the double feature. This is directed by Robert Rodriguez, who also wrote and was a cinematographer for his own movie. This grossed $11 million against a $20 million budget. It did so poorly that the Weinstein separated it from Death Proof and then released them as separate features.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
They did.
Because Grindhouse was the amalgamation of both.
Yes.
Right. Kind of put together in like was it the DVD or was it, they never screened Grindhouse.
Yes, they screened Grindhouse. That's how it
in theater?
In theaters. That's how it originally came out.
Fake trailers and everything.
Yeah, and we only got one fake trailer on this Machete. We didn't get Werewolf Women of the SS. We didn't get Thanksgiving.
I watched the Grindhouse, like,
Was it Hobo with a shotgun?
you can rent the Grindhouse like full bit, and then you get all the trailers, all the intersections.
Oh, so you rented it? You didn't watch it on whatever? I watched it on.
So I watched Death Proof on Prime, I think, and then Planet Terror was on either Tubi or
somewhere.
Yeah, Free Flicks or some bullshit, and I was like, I'm not gonna bother with that, so I just rented it on Prime and I just watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that way I got all the trailers and I got all like the cut scenes and all that.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So that was released in theaters?
Yeah.
It
was released, both films, both cut down, but like every single one of the trailers in front of it.
Gotcha.
So the trailers was like, half the fun.
I missed at least one trailer, I remember, because I had to get up and go to the bathroom. So I missed
Werewolf
At the
Women
beginning of the movie?
whatever was in the middle of it, like in between the two. There was some.
There were a few in between. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one at the beginning, one, and then a couple in the middle.
Was Machete in the middle between the two?
Machete.
I think Machete might have been first.
There's Werewolf Woman of the SS, Machete, and then there was Thanksgiving. Those are the only ones I
No, it's just called Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Because Thanksgiving
That's right,
is a completely different movie with a different premise.
And then
It's just
Hobo with a shotgun.
Is that? And they actually made Hobo.
I don't think Hobo with a Shotgun is from.
I believe it is.
Grindhouse. I
think it's Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer, they actually made that into a movie.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
I don't remember being in Grindhouse when I watched it.
Maybe that's in my own
Yeah.
mind, but we'll have to look that up and verify it. So this film is in the Texas countryside, and a mysterious, and again, it's like this is kind of my quick like TLDR.
Both movies kind of take place in like the Austin
area. So it's like Tarantino's is in Austin. I think Rodriguez is more like in the countryside, the rural area,
hill country.
Yeah. Mysterious military experiment has leaked and is turning the locals into zombies. And as with all these kind of zombie movies, it falls to like a ragtag group of survivors.
You're right. Hobo with the shotgun was one.
I was thinking so. They mount humanity's...
Oh, wait. No, later became... Sorry, continue.
They mount humanity's last defense. They're led by El Rey, a man with a very suspicious Liam Neeson-esque set of skills, which is never properly defined as to where those came from. Played by Freddie Rodriguez. Rose McGowan plays Cherry Darling from the Neil Diamond song. Ray's lost love, who currently works as a heartbroken go-go dancer. I've had too much wine to go through this description. Marley Shelton plays Dr. Block, carrying her role over from Death Proof. Josh Brolin is her asshole husband. Michael Biehn is the hard-bitten sheriff. Jeff Fahey is the restaurant-owning brother who's obsessed with the taste of his own barbecue.
He's put a lot of work into it.
He is getting high on his own supply.
Hobo with the shotgun was one, and as is a trailer called Don't.
No, I don't.
I remember.
Yeah, no, I remember Don't for sure.
And Hobo with a Shotgun was only in some screenings.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, because Hobo with a Shotgun was not in the version that I rented from Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So I remember that was the one I was most like, I'd like to see that movie. Rutger Hauer as...
Did you see Hobo with a Shotgun?
I did not.
Yeah.
Some screenings of Grindhouse, mainly in Canada, also featured a fake trailer for a film called Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah. So I definitely have seen that at some point because it was the most intriguing.
And Rutger Hauer did like... The only two movies that actually came out of it were Machete and Hobo with a Shotgun. I really wanted Werewolf Women of the SS and Thanksgiving.
That's the best movie title
too late.
ever.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, honestly,
Rob Zombie directed the trailer of Werewolf Women of the SS. I forgot about that. And Eli Roth did the one of Thanksgiving.
Nazis and werewolves just go together very well. That's hand in glove.
I mean, there's a Nazi zombie movie I can refer you to. There is a Nazis on the Moon movie I could refer you to.
There's one of the Wolfenstein games that heads in that direction. They have,
I think they're werewolves in Wolfenstein, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Werewolves. All right, sorry.
So
Continue.
anyway, so a few gratuitous cameos include Bruce Willis as a corrupt military dude who has a thing for collecting guys' balls.
And did he... Wait, no. Saeed.
No, it was Saeed who had a ball collection.
Yeah.
But I thought Bruce Willis was collecting the ball.
No, he brought up Saeed's ball collection.
But did Bruce Willis, correct me if I'm wrong, I forgot to go back, did he grow a goatee from the beginning of the film to the end of the film?
Oh, I don't remember, because he wears a mask most of the time.
I know, but I think he took it off at the beginning, and I don't think he had the goatee, and then at the end he did.
Honestly,
could be wrong.
That might be an intentional thing to make it funnier.
Yeah,
cool.
And that's kind of how I read most of the stuff. Is like they're trying to like
Bruce Willis wouldn't shave his goatee for the second half.
He's like,
we just had to go with
we had to do reshoots, and we just didn't want to shave his goatee.
Yeah.
So
So and Bruce Willis, this was after Sin City, right?
Yeah, it would have been because Sin City was 06.
No. And then
we got to do Sin City.
Yeah,
that's just fun.
That's another great one. Naveen Andrews is a suave British scientist, and the Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, another gratuitous cameo.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
I forgot she was in this.
And then
Fergie-ot.
And then Tarantino shows up in a very unpleasant, very ungainly cameo as a would-be like military rapist.
Yeah,
very unpleasant cameo from Tarantino.
He'll do anything for a cameo.
So this film is sillier, gorier, and more disheveled than its fraternal twin brother.
Anything to get his face stepped on.
Exactly.
Jesus, yeah.
But all that kind of works in this movie's favor because it makes it even better as junk food entertainment. Everybody in this movie seems to enjoy slumming it in this kind of B movie type material. As we said before, Rodriguez seems to dial everything down to the material. Tarantino wants to bring it up.
Yep.
So I think Rodriguez gets more into the vibe. He vibes into this much better than Tarantino does. So to me, that makes it it's deliberately ramshackle. It is a shambling movie, and to me, that makes it more fun. When you see like good actors, good people saddled with cheesy B-movie dialogue, B-movie plot material, it's more fun. It's more, it vibes into the junk food overall aesthetic of the movie. So that's why now watching it, I enjoy this more than Death Proof. The only beef I have with this movie is the cameos are a big distraction. Like the Bruce Willis, Tarantino type cameos, to me, they distract from the movie's overall kind of scroungy aesthetic.
I'm sorry, were you worried about the quality of the movie being taken away by the cameos?
Because the rest of it, like Rodriguez does such a good job of making this movie so dingy and dirty and broken up and grimy that having like a $20 million a movie actor like Bruce Willis in there, I mean, it's like it'd be like throwing Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts in there. It's like it's a distraction. It pulls away from what they're trying to do. Because to me, the rest of the movie is such effective junk food.
It's just a gutter version of Ocean's 11.
That's a good way to put it. So yeah, the cameos stick out like sore thumbs. Otherwise, I'd give this movie a 6.5. It's a good, strong 6.5. So, Sean, what are your thoughts?
I think it does a good job of kind of like pulling in a lot of the aspects of like a shitty horror movie, in that there are so many plot lines that it tries to pull in that never get resolution, that just sort of all get left either just completely open-ended or just like go nowhere and just sort of like fall in the middle of the movie. He wrote this in such a way that it was so shitty on purpose. I love it. I mean, it's so dumb. The kid shooting himself in the car for no reason. Just like, Tammy, I told you not to point it at yourself. It's like, where? And all of a sudden, okay, the husband's here? Just like, that's the movie? Oh, Jesus. Okay.
And then the Josh Brolin like injecting his wife with like he's doing the Carol Burnett,
the 3-step shots.
He's doing the Carol Burnett, the Tim Conway thing, like of injecting him until he drops the phone. You know, it's like he gets the anesthetic out.
God, it's glorious. She has T-Rex hands the whole rest of the movie.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
It's so stupid. And then they get to the point where they have to like escape, and he pulls back the blanket on the chopper, and he's like, yeah, good old West Coast custom. I had Jesse James build this for me. It's like just that totally brings you back to 2007. Just like Jesse James on Discovery Channel building motorcycles. It's like, yeah, hell yeah,
like,
brother.
What's his barbecue missing? It's my own blood.
And then the scene where
salt.
They do the jump cut where it's like all of a sudden the building is on fire and they're all like, we have to get out.
Yeah.
And they're like fighting the zombies and they're like, everybody go back in. Just he does such a good job of like making the shitty plot points of just like ignoring the common sense thing or just doing whatever, you know, plot you have to do to keep the story moving along. But at the end of the day, it is a really shitty movie. It's just not good. The plot doesn't make any sense. The cinematography, there's a lot of like bad CGI. They do a lot of like the stuff where there's just like, you know, it's filmy and it's just like bad and it's just low quality and it's awkward.
Ultra squibs.
The squibs just like exploding when they get shot.
Every squib is 4 squibs.
Every squib is like turned up to 11. He does such a great job of making a shitty movie that it is shitty, you know, intentionally. And I think I prefer the Quentin Tarantino dialing things up, trying to make a good movie shitty, than trying to make a bad movie good. Maybe if I was in a different mood, I would kind of give it a different ranking or like, you know, reverse the two, but I would probably give this guy about a 6.
So yeah, I mean, I think
an ironic 6 or an ironic 5.5, like a true movie, like a 5.
You give this an Alanis Morissette 6.
A little too ironic.
And I really do think. So I mean, it's like we're looking at this. I mean, kind of in a weird way, like the same attitude but different perspective. You know, so it's like, what would you rather have? You know.
I would rather have the Tarantino.
I've always wondered, like, as an experiment, to take a movie like Plan 9 from Outer Space, like that basic premise, and give that to like Christopher Nolan, what can you do with this story?
Well, I think that is kind of the what is the Ed Wood movie?
Yeah.
Right. They try to basically like recreate or retell the story of Ed Wood, but make it like a good movie, like a good documentary.
And I would love to do that sometime. I would love to do Ed Wood.
Yeah, Ed Wood's a great movie.
That would be a good Halloween movie, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like we're kind of at cross purposes, but yeah, look at the same thing of like
It just comes down to preference.
what would you rather have? Yeah.
I would rather have a good movie made to look shitty than a bad movie trying to like plus it up.
Yeah. Trav?
I also give this a 6. I think this is a good twofer because it is yin and yang. They're both taking like essentially bad schlock movies, and one of them is like leaning into the bad, and one is trying to art house it up. Mm-hmm. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. This is essentially, we haven't done it yet, but this is like Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Because we've seen part 1 where there's like, we have barrels of this like crazy ass gas and it's bad news bears. But spoiler alert, Return of the Living Dead Part 2 has the military riding along and some dude is smoking a doobie, and this the truck that he's driving drops one of the barrels that has zombie gas off the back, and the barrel breaks open near a neighborhood. Bad smoke rises, chaos ensues, like zombies everywhere.
Got that zombie gas. What are you going to do?
This is a little bit of the nod to that. Like, hey, we need to have a thing that happens and zombies just start showing up everywhere. So this had just ultra squibs everywhere. You always hate it when, like, somebody, a protagonist on screen has a gun and they shoot and they're just missing or just ineffective, or they hit something and it does nothing. The bullets in this world,
infinite bullets and revolvers.
You get infinite bullets, plus each one that hits is doing just untold amounts of damage. You're just like, oh my God, I nailed it. Yeah. Like every shot is a headshot or a kill shot. You're like, oh, this is great. The just craziness of having a leg chopped off and then getting a machine gun attached to it. Like you love
tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a machine gun, but a machine gun with a rocket launcher.
Yes.
Sorry, grenade launcher.
No.
And you know what? After having seen, I never thought I would say this sentence in my life. After having seen Hot Tub Time Machine and then rewatching Planet Terror, there's Crispin Glover in Hot Tub Time Machine that they know in the future loses an arm. And every time Crispin Glover is on the scene, like something happens and he hurts his arm or something happens to his arm, and they keep waiting. They're like, shit, when's he going to lose his arm? I started watching Planet Terror. She falls into a trash can and gets a metal shard in her leg, and I'm like, oh my God, is this like pre-Hot Tub Time Machine? Like everybody knows and has seen the trailer and knows she's gonna lose her leg and get a machine gun leg, and I'm like, I'd forgotten all about this movie. Are there gonna be like 3 close calls? I was like, this is amazing. And then she gets the one little injury and they go to the doctor or whatever, or no, then she gets, they hit somebody with their car or whatever, they take them off immediately. I was like, damn it, that was almost like done better in Hot Tub Time Machine. Like I really wanted her to have a couple more just random ass injuries to this one
I want to take a moment to appreciate the sex scene where she just has like the leg that's like the leg of a table.
That's dumb.
It's just like goes straight up in the air.
Yes.
Great fucking.
Oh my God.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Splendid.
Single-handedly took it from a 5 to a 6.
Yeah.
And we had some Lost alums. We had Naveen Williams as Abby. We had Jeff Fahey as JT, who was Lapidus in Lost. Tom fucking Savini as one of the deputies that was kept shooting his buddies. He shot the one guy that was alive. He was like, "Oh God, I thought he was a zombie." So clearly, Tom Savini must have worked on some special effects on this for some zombie stuff. I didn't look it up, but there's no way he didn't. There's no way he was involved in this and did not do that. Quentin Tarantino really wanted to be inserted again. Like Robert Rodriguez never really feels. Robert Rodriguez never really feels the need to be in his own movies that I recall.
Yeah,
unless I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but like Quentin Tarantino is like, yeah, I'll come in there. I'll be just like this weird, fucked up guy. Yeah, I'll yell at Rose McGowan like for no reason. I mean, I guess that's
Tarantino just loves being in the middle.
Yeah, he just wants to be. We did get Michael Biehn in this from Terminator 1 and Aliens.
Yes. And The Abyss.
Yes.
The Abyss
which was great.
Mm-hmm. And Tombstone.
Mm-hmm. But this whole film was just, it was not for me. I wasn't in the mood to watch it at the time. I had watched it once in theaters when it had been chopped up for time. And I had watched it once again when I bought it on DVD. And then I never really wanted to watch again after that. Like, I knew out of the two that Death Proof was my jam. But again, only about the first half of Death Proof. The second half was okay. I gave it a 6. Yeah. The effects were... I was going to say the effects were great. Not quite, but they were almost there. Like, if they had had more time and budget, they would have been much better. But you're right. They wanted to hurry up. This whole thing was like a hurry up offense. They're like, all right, let's yada yada. Let's get outside. Let's do some explosions. In fact, I remember one part where right at the beginning where they find out there's zombies and all the deputies show up and they start shooting the zombies and their car that they pulled up in explodes for no reason. I backed it up. I was like, I looked away for a second and I was like, oh shit, what did I miss?
You know why?
And
because
I backed it up and I was like,
that's just fun. We're having fun.
I backed it up again and there's like 6 deputies that just pulled out of a car and they ran up and I was like, what happened? Oh no, it just looked cool, so they had him like explode.
So much fun.
So
it's anyway, so much more badass.
6 out of 10 for me.
So do you prefer Death Proof?
I prefer Death Proof.
I prefer Death Proof to Planet Terror. You prefer Planet Terror to Death Proof?
I do.
Okay, yeah. 2-1.
Ironically, so that's a complete flip of my opinion from back in the day.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
You never know.
You never know.
So this has been another episode of Cinemavino.
Happy Halloween, you guys.
Yeah.
Happy October.
Halloween.
Happy horror movies.
Happy Samhain to y'all.
Samhain.
Samhain?
When you're listening to this,
Samhain.
Probably November.
Oh. But I guess it's pronounced Samhain.
God bless our country.
God bless our country. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, the election is over and things went well.
Yes.
We won't know.
Yeah. We don't know at this point.
We need another week here.
As we sit here in our like blessed divine ignorance.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
And if you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
And that's why we have wine.
And great movies, Only Drunker.
And Flaviar.
And Flaviar.com/Cinemavino. Promo code Cinemavino10. Got Sean Jordan.
Yep.
Got T-Bud. And my name's Todd. And we will see you guys next time.
Happy Halloween.
Hee hee.